Rocco, thanks so much for being here, brother. I appreciate you. I know you got a busy schedule, being a single dad, being a chiropractor, having a podcast, having a full life, and still taking the time to talk to me, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love doing this. So yeah, it's fun. I'm glad we were able to make it work.
Listen, your podcast is called It's Dad Time.
Yes.
Right? I want you to really dive into the story of what it's like to be a single father with, 50% custody, like you mentioned, but I don't want to prime that conversation. The podcast is it's a resource for people moving down to South Florida. I'll tell you that I have friends that are divorced. I mean, it's just statistically, it's going to happen. I cannot tell you how many people I know would have made the move into South Florida from Canada that I know. They can't because of their custody situation. Yeah. So one wants to go, the other one doesn't want to go, the kid wants to go. It's really messy.
Yep.
But a lot of people could benefit from hearing your story. And by the way, you got to check out his podcast. He's killing it. He's doing so well. So you've been divorced for how long now?
About 2 years. So my birthday, about a little over 2 years ago. Yeah.
You got divorced on your birthday?
Well, I didn't get divorced on my birthday, but I got the news I was getting divorced on my birthday. So yeah, it was rough. It was brutal. And or like a day or two before. Yeah, it was what's funny about that is that was like the thing, but it was the best birthday present I ever got now 2 years later.
So in hindsight.
Yeah, hindsight was amazing.
It's funny how the things that rock our world that we're we can't think we're going to overcome.
Yeah. As
we overcome them, we're we can do this.
Yep.
We can overcome this. We can do anything. How sometimes they turn around and become blessings.
Yeah. And I have no animosity towards her. I'm actually grateful for all of the things. It's fascinating, but it took a lot of work. It wasn't just
on yourself?
On myself. So I didn't wake up, August 13th and be like, skippity-doo-dah, life's fucking better. Right. No, man, I was crying on the shower floor. I was, couldn't make dinner, didn't know how I was going to be a dad. I was thinking about committing suicide. Shit was deep. It wasn't fucking easy, but piecing it back together made it more beautiful, right? It's almost like, how would I describe this? You have a house and you got a house and it's got this roof on it. Well, then a storm comes and it kind of fucks the roof, right? So now you got this roof that's it's kind of leaky and it isn't doing its thing. Well, you have to pay somebody to come put a roof on. So they take that whole roof off. Well, in the process of taking that whole roof off, you have this exposed house where everything's very vulnerable and you don't know what the fuck's going to happen and you better hope it doesn't rain and all this shit, right? But then they put this new roof on. And now it's just organized into a higher level. It can sustain more. It can withstand more. It's stronger. It's healthier. It's happier. It's going to drive you farther. And you know what I mean? It's worth more. All these things. That's kind of what it was like. This just fucking broke home, empty, bare, vulnerable, don't know what the fuck's going to happen or how I'm going to make it to the next day, financially, mentally, any of those things, to now higher value, higher worth, love myself, value myself. It's business is taken all. Everything changed. Everything.
I don't know where to start because I can't speak from the perspective of I'm not divorced. Mm-hmm. Although I think we've come close several times.
Yeah.
Our relationship is better because of those arguments and fights. Moving down here has tested my marriage more than anything else. Than anything else. And I mean that's an understatement. But you said you were completely decimated. Mm-hmm. Did you have moments where you thought you were going to drown your sorrows in drugs or alcohol or anything like that?
I held a pistol to the side of my head to see what it would look like.
Oh my God.
Myself. Yeah. So it's funny because it started with...
what stopped you?
My daughter.
And if your daughter wasn't around?
If my daughter wasn't around, I don't think I would have even felt that way. That's an interesting thing. So yeah, let's dive into this. So at first... it kind of started where I was on a plane and I was like, man, I didn't want to ever say I was suicidal, right? Because it was I wasn't cutting myself. I wasn't actually in the act of doing anything. I was quite literally in the act of overcoming the sadness, depression, and all of these things that were overtaking me. I was doing it with a life coach and all these other ways and really trying to, make this change. But I remember being on a plane and being like, God damn, if it just went down, it'd be so much easier for everybody. Like the pain would be gone. And then it would be like, well, Dad died in a plane accident, you know? And like, it felt relief thinking of that thought. And I didn't really talk about this up until like a month ago. Cause I'm like, this isn't really how suicide is. But then I started realizing like, there's so many different layers and aspects of it. Right. And so then, you know, one time I was like, okay, I was in the bathroom and I was in a bad place. And I was like, let me just hold the pistol to the side of my head and I want to see what it looks like.
Was it loaded?
No, it wasn't loaded. So I unloaded it because I was like, you know, so again, this is where like I didn't talk about it because I was like, all right, but I didn't really try and kill myself. Does that make sense? Like when
it absolutely makes sense.
So
man.
It was like, but I wanted to see what it looks like. And I'm like, okay. And then in the mirror, like I'm looking at myself, you know, and I'm like, I can't, like, what is she going to find me? Like, I can't do this, you know, like, but I wanted to be out of the pain so fucking bad, you know, and thank God I have an amazing support system, people to call, like my tribe is fucking badass. Right.
Yeah.
And, put it down and just, that was it. It was kind of, that was that. Like the decision
think that was the rebound
made.
point, like the inflection point.
So the inflection point, I specifically, remember the inflection point. It wasn't that. I don't remember which one was before or after the other. So I guess this would have had to have been after. I mean, the time's fuzzy, but I was in the shower, and this is going to sound so weird, right? But I was in the shower, I was crying, and then I was curled up in the fetal position in the shower and crying, right? And the water started getting cold and like filling up and all this stuff. And, so who knows how long I was in there for the fact that the water turned fucking cold, right? And I'm just crying on the shower floor, and I hear this voice that's like, "Get up." And I'm like, "What?" And it's like, "Get up now." And I'm like, "Okay." So then I'm in the fetal position, and then I get up and I'm on my hands and knees, and I'm like still sobbing, and I hear it like, I don't know if there's God, I don't know if there's spirit, I don't know what it is, I don't know if it's just my mind talking to myself, like I just hit a breaking point or what the hell happened. But I just hear, "Get the fuck up now." Like it's screaming at me. And I got up and fucking wiped my tears off my face. And then boom, it was time to go. The pain wasn't gone. The depression wasn't gone. Like it wasn't gone, but it was like, now you go. Like now you do what you need to do. And, yeah, it was low, man. And it's interesting. Like I felt like I had nothing else going on in my life to distract me. Like I had to be with this pain. And it was a lot. And so would I have felt the same way, or would I have killed myself if Sloan wasn't around? And I'm not putting the fact that I'm alive on Sloan. I don't ever want her to have that type of pressure, ever, ever, ever. But of course it was something I thought about, you know, like what would the optics of this look like for my daughter? And I think that if things went down the way they did and I didn't have a daughter, I'd have just been like, peace out. I'm going to the bar. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to bring some slut home. This is going to be great. You know, like, but that wasn't the reality. Right. To me, the home got ripped apart. To me, nothing was going to be the same for Sloan again. To me, everything was going to change. Now there might be another man in Sloan's life, like as a father figure, like all of these things. And I was like, I couldn't handle the emotions. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to inflict harm upon other people. I didn't know if I wanted to inflict harm upon myself. Like it was like I was cracked open for the first time ever, and I wasn't able to control my emotions. It was fucking wild.
Suicide's a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yeah.
You've probably heard that saying before, right?
Yeah.
I can't say that it hasn't crossed my mind, and I think a lot of people would be very cowardly not to admit that, and I'm not putting that on them.
Yeah.
For various reasons, right?
Yeah.
All of them can be justified in your own head. But the crazy part is there's always somebody doing worse, and there's always somebody doing better.
Yeah.
But everybody struggles in between.
In between.
Right? You have people with terminal diagnoses that can't do anything about it anymore, and somehow they find a way to really cherish those values of the moments that they have remaining. And then you have people who aren't really, really struggling, like in the same light, but they're struggling inside probably in the same way.
Yep. And, for me, a huge turning point was like, I was like, okay, I'm going to take one thing I think that everybody should read is, it's called The Victim Triangle. It's a psychologist found it and wrote it. It's a victim triangle. And we have, everybody plays part of these roles in their entire life. You have the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. And so when people orient to the victim, they need a persecutor who is the source of all of their woes, right? Because it's not their fault because they're the victim.
Lightning rod.
Yeah. And then they need the rescuer to come in and rescue the victim from the persecutor. So this is literally exactly how every fairy tale is written. You have the damsel in distress, you have the persecutor who's the bad guy, and then you have the good guy who's the rescuer that comes in and saves her from the bad guy. But if they just kept playing that out a little bit more, we would find that then that rescuer becomes the new persecutor because the victim never changed. So he has to become the source of all their woes, right? And then a new rescuer comes in and we create this cycle. So I read that and I was like, fuck that. Like, now I know like part of these roles I'm playing and all this stuff. So I wrote on my hand all the time, and it's a Brian Tracy thing. I am responsible. I was like, okay, if I'm responsible and I do believe I can have the life I want and I can have all these amazing things and all this stuff can happen, what do I get to show Sloan now? I get to show Sloan that Dad's going to build himself bigger and better and badder than ever before. And I'm going to give her and I the life that I've always fucking dreamed of, but was being too big of a bitch to do before, right? Because I was so consumed with all this other stupid, just shit, right? Like that wasn't important. And it's go time. And then again, it's like these little wins, these little incremental changes. Like, it's not like, oh my gosh, I was in the shower and then all of a sudden I felt better. I started writing, I am responsible in my hand, and I felt better. But all of those things put little 1 degree shifts between the shit in between my ears, and then all of a sudden things started going better. And then you become kind of a little bit resilient to a lot of shit. And you're like, yeah, I'm a bad motherfucker, you know. And like, you don't have to go to war. I mean, they're bad motherfuckers, but we all deal with like things in our head, sure, right? And it's like, I talked before. I was talking to a buddy on the phone, and I was like, there was a point in my life where a win's a win. And for me, if I got
a win's a fucking win.
Exactly.
That's right.
A win's a fucking win. And for me, getting out of bed was a win.
Yeah.
And so instead of being like, oh, I got to bed, I got to do all these things, I'm like, you fucking won today, dude. You got out of bed. Just don't get back in the motherfucker. And you win. You won the day. That's it. Just get out of the fucking bed. And then all of a sudden that win turned into, now you're going to get out of the bed and you're going to make the fucking bed. And it's like, oh, okay, now I got 2 wins today. And then you're going to pack your daughter's lunch today.
Momentum.
That's 3 fucking wins. I just got 3 wins, and it's not even 7 a.m. Now I don't make my bed anymore because I don't need the bed to be a fucking win. But at a point in my life, I needed it to be a win. And then you can frame that shit, and all of a sudden everything starts to change because you can fucking have everything you want. And I'll be as real with you and as honest as possible. One of the huge things that changed for me, my birthday's August 12th. Halloween is October 31st, of course. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to do shit. I was broke. I had no fucking money. I couldn't afford a costume. Like, I don't want to go out. And my buddy's like, let's go. You're finally fucking single. We're going to the wharf. Like, let's go. I'm like, I don't even know what to wear. My life coach is like, take a towel, wrap it around your waist, like a shower towel. I got long hair. She's like, wrap your fucking head up, flip it up, and just tell everybody you got out of the shower. And went out. And I'm like, you know what? I'm at a point where I just don't give a fuck anymore. Like, because, I'm doing all this work, and I'm like, what are you going to do? Make fun of me? Like, my wife just left. My daughter's away from me 50% of the time. I don't give a fuck, So I'm like, I'm going to go out like this. So I went out like that, and I got a lot of attention. And I was like, whoa, there's more women. These women are beautiful. They want to pay attention to me. And as a man, that feels good. And when I felt like shit, that felt fucking good. That's another goddamn win. And there's nothing fucking wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And so, I don't know. You got me going. I'm all over the place now.
Dude, so authenticity is something that is hugely lacking and could probably solve a lot of people's problems. Like, having you here and be genuine and being able to open up. Like, I'd be totally honest with you. There's a lot of things that I want to say right now about my own past that I'm not comfortable with saying on the mic. Mm-hmm. I may be able to tell you afterwards, but I'm not. But the fact that you're willing to do that, I had an incredible story from somebody that was on this podcast. It's ironic that it has to do with marriage, and we were talking about marriage. She moved down here with her husband. I'm down here with my wife. We're kind of like new to this whole game, and we both have 3 kids, and we talk about the challenges of marriage and stuff like that. And she was talking about how difficult it's been and the authenticity. And somebody had messaged her after hearing the podcast saying to her, you just saved my marriage because of what I heard you say. I'm going to reset and look at things in a different framework.
Yep.
The stuff you're saying right now, I don't know whose ears it's going to fall on and who's going to resonate with this. Who might be in a really shitty spot in their life right now. They'll say, you know what? This dude went through it and is now on the other side of it. Yep. I can do it too. You never know. But it's rare for somebody to be as authentic as you. And it really, I don't know how you'll never know how thankful I really am, because I don't have the balls to do what you're doing right now to that level, at least not at this point in my life.
Well, thank you.
Do you have a daily routine that you kind of go through? Like, are you a structured or human being?
So that's an interesting question. I love and hate structure. I'm like this. I'm like a weird enigma. So I do have a routine that I go through, and I'll tell you what it is. So what I did is I go through, and I just did it because it was my birthday. So that's when my year starts, on my birthday, right?
Oh, really? Your New Year's is...
My fucking New Year's, my birthday, you know? I'm going out on New Year's Eve.
August 12th, everybody. You heard it here first.
Fucking, that's when everybody's New Year should be. And so I sat down and I went through like a 6-month span where things weren't going the way I wanted them to go. Like, don't think it all went hunky dory. Like,
I have no doubt it didn't.
Life and all this, it's like the S&P 500. You know, if you put $1 in it at the beginning of the year, it's going to be 6% higher at the end of the fucking year. And if you zoom out, that looks real good.
Right. That's the slope.
It's a slope. But if you look in, it's like, and then depending who's in office, it goes, you know, and then you're like, oh, fuck, maybe it'll go back up. But that's what it looks like. And so what I did is I was like, all right, I have to reset. I'm not heading the trajectory I want. I am headed in the trajectory I want, but I'm not going as fast as I want. I feel unorganized. My days aren't I'm not accomplishing what I feel like I can in every single day. Again, ebb and flows to the world, ebb and flows to the universe. Your set point changes, right? Everything's like the tide. My set point now is better than it was before. So when the tide goes out, it's not as big of a deal as before, and it will come back in, and that's how life works. So what I do is I sat down and wrote all of the things I wanted to accomplish in like 7 areas of my life, like love and partnership, me and Sloan, business, finances, fitness, spirituality and giving, right? So I picked those areas and I just wrote what those things were, and for me, like giving didn't have a lot under it because I'm not in a financial place right now where I can give a lot financially. But I was like, look, but I can gift my care to certain people. So I will gift my care to a very specific group of people, and I will allow to give that way. And then I will save, 2 to 3% over the next 12 months, and I'm going to donate that to the police station because I believe that the police are fucking awesome and we should support them, right? Or give it to Rescue 22
Amen.
Or something related to
someone
the military.
who's putting their life on the line for me,
and
you get the opportunity to shit on them when you don't. I think most people don't, but sorry, I get it. I really that stuff boils my blood when you're coming after.
Yeah, if we have time, I'll go back to the story that story about people complaining about a country that they're in. But so that's all that was under giving. But like personal care or health or there's a lot of stuff under there. Like, I want to be able to get a massage once a week. I want to, like, whatever these things are. So I come up with this big fucking perfect life of, you can do it 2 ways. You can do the big perfect life and then boil that down to what you want to accomplish in a year. But I just did the year, what I want to accomplish in 12 months, and I boil that down into 3 months, where I want to be in 3 months with each one of these categories, what I want to be able to do in 3 months, right? Then I take it and I break it down into how am I going to do this every fucking week. So then I have a complete separate notebook. This is a lot. A complete separate notebook, and I write the areas down. What do I need to accomplish that week? All right, 4 days of sunshine, 20 minutes a day. Sauna 4 days a week, gym 1 day a week, because that's where I'm at right now, right? Like, be real with yourself. Like, these are the things that I want to do. And again, just using that as an example, 7,500 steps a day, boom, for 7 days in a row. So then I take that and then I literally take my notebook that I carry everywhere with me. It's probably in my car. It's kind of like yours right there. And I have 2 sides. One side is the list of things I'm going to do in the morning and throughout the day to get my mind and my vibration right. Okay, so there's about 8 things on there. Those things consist of a meditation in the morning or brain tap, listening to an Abraham Hicks audio every single day in the shower, 15 minutes, reading 15 pages of something, getting 7,500 steps in, 20 minutes of sunshine, going through these old audios that I recorded of myself and typing them out, right? And then gym, if it's the gym day. Those are my things that are going to get my mindset and my vibration correct. Boom. That's on this side. Those are non-fucking negotiable. Get up earlier if you have to, because your vibration is going to dictate the rest of your day. Then the other side are the things that I need to do, right? So I'll have anywhere from 5 to 10 things I need to do. Some of them are simple. Like some of them are like, don't forget to call Kat, and it's just make sure you do it. Cause I'll forget if the fucking day goes on, but then there's other ones that are like, hey, listen, get the kids book up on KDP. It's a big one. It's going to take some time. And then I have those, crush them. Now, the two most important parts of all of this are at the end of the day, I have a paragraph size at the bottom that I fill out that is abundance received, negative to positive, and gratitude. So any abundance I received that day, I write it down, whatever it is. And I thank you for whatever it is. Right? Got a new client coming in the door. Thank you. I made a new contact. Thank you. I'm going to be on this awesome podcast. Thank you. I got invited to. How can I have more? I want more of this. How do I get more of this? Right? And you write some of it, you think it, you feel it. And then if you're not, and then if you're really in a shitty mood, I have negative to positive, because whatever I'm going to do is you can even give me one and I'll make it work. You take a negative, whatever that fucking negative is that you thought was for the day, and you rewrite it and reframe it into a positive and write that bitch down. And then all of that is wrapped in gratitude. And these are the things that are more important to me than everything else, because this is how I end up getting asked to be in a book. This is how I end up getting asked to be on your podcast. Because if I'm in a low vibration and I interview your wife and it sucks, I don't get on your podcast. Right? But because I did all these fucking things to get my shit together, and I'm like, let's go. Like, I own this thing. Right? This gives me the confidence because I know I'm doing these things. And then the other side is my goal. One goal. Write it 10 times, whatever that goal is, the one goal that is going to change your life. You write it. And you write it, and as soon as something comes up where you're like, I don't think I can achieve that, you take that thing you don't think, that thought, and you fucking flip that thought and you make it right. Right? Where it's like, I make $20,000 a month, right? I make $20,000 a month. I get $20,000 a month. You've never made $20,000 a month, right? And then you take that thought and you go, all right, well, I haven't made $20,000 a month. But I know 50 fucking people who do make $20,000 a month. I live in the most abundant town in fucking Florida. The money is all around me. All I have to do is walk down the street. People pay $7 a day for a fucking Starbucks coffee. Well, $7 a day times whatever is a lot of money for people that are using it. Like, do you see what I'm doing? I'm unframing it.
I see what you're doing, and I'm watching it. And the one thing you were 15 minutes ago talking about having a pistol to your head, and now talking about how hard and how important it is to work on yourself. And very few people take that sort of approach because they think that like it's an all or nothing proposition. If they don't do all these things that you describe, then they're failures.
Sure.
But remember you said about just making your bed. Well, I find the hardest part for me is the meditation in the morning. I cannot get my brain to be still. Yeah. But in my 10 minutes of trying, I might get 30 seconds and be like, all right, that's good. Yep. Because I did it.
So two things there. One, fuck yeah, you did it. That's all that matters. Because here's what's actually happening. The meditation where we're like, oh, I went to outer space and whatever. Cool. Who gives a fuck? What you did is you told yourself you were going to meditate every fucking morning. And you got up and you meditated. So now you built trustworthiness in yourself. And now you built confidence in yourself. So when you go to sell the fucking house or you go to do whatever, I'm the fucking guy for it.
Right.
Because for the last 365 days, I told myself I'm going to meditate every morning. And guess what? Of those 365 days, I might have meditated 45 seconds, but I fucking sat there and did what I told myself to do. Now I know I can handle hard shit. That's one. Two, I don't like it either. And how I augmented that is I bought Brain Tap. It's fucking awesome. I'll let you use mine. It's awesome.
I use Headspace. I'm wondering if it's the same thing.
So Brain Tap's got these headphones on the side with lights in them, and they do binaural beats. And then it has a visor that comes down that does like blue and red lights. And so it entrains the brain to like alpha and theta brainwave states. I have an affiliate. I think I can get you like $100 off. It's fucking awesome. Dude,
totally. Here's a question I didn't think I'd be asking. Have you ever thought of, tried, or even heard of a ketamine treatment? Have you ever heard of this?
So I've heard of it, but I don't know a ton about it.
I actually asked my therapist about it, and what he said to me goes, I don't recommend it.
Okay.
He said only because he knows that I have an addictive personality. Mm-hmm. And he says, regardless of what you may or may not get in that moment, you may want it. It might be helpful. It might not. Likely would be. It'll definitely alter your state, and you don't know whether that's good or bad, so you might want to chase that.
Yeah.
So don't do it. But I know a lot of people that live and die by. Like they swear that it was great, it was so good, but they're doing it on the regular.
Yep. So this is my thing with that. So whenever I was going through everything, I purposely did not drink or smoke anything because I'm like, I'm going to feel this fucking pain and I'm going to own it and I'm going to get through it.
It's a brave thing to do, man. A lot of answers to be found at the bottom of the bottle.
A lot of answers, right? But I wanted the answers because I don't want the ketamine to be in control of if I'm happy. I don't want the bottle to be in control if I'm happy. I don't want the weed to be in control if I'm happy. No, it doesn't. But I don't want it to have anything on me. I know because if I do it my way, the way I just described to you, or a version of the whatever, I didn't just fucking come out of the womb knowing how to do that. It was trial and error. What fucking works for me, right? And I'm in control. I know I can change my vibration. I've built the belief system that I can do that. Now you could argue the brain tap is doing whatever, sure, but I do that. That's fine. I don't want something and when we're talking about psychedelics, so I've done mushrooms twice, done a mushroom ceremony twice where I drink the tea and I lay there and there's music and it's a very spiritual experience. It's not a trippy, like, just.
You did it here in South Florida?
No, but I can definitely make you do that with somebody who's amazing. One of my very good friends here.
She's so amazing. Curious and at the same time, deathly afraid.
Oh, she's the perfect person for you.
I don't think I've got I'm afraid. I'm terrified.
Yeah, so it'd probably be good for you. She's the perfect person for you. We'll connect you with her after.
What was that like?
So that was very interesting. So let me also I want to preface this with. There's a really good book called "The Religion with No Name: The Immortality Key." Amazing book, talks about.
I wrote down the victim triangle and because Audible, man.
So the victim triangle, you won't find an Audible. You'll find that as a research article. The antidote to the victim triangle you'll find is called the TED dynamic. The empowerment dynamic, TED, the empowerment dynamic. Everybody should read that. Read the victim triangle and then read the empowerment dynamic. It's going to give you the antidote, which is the creator, the coach, and the coach, and the challenger.
Okay.
And sorry, go ahead.
I got to trade you one on this because tell me you've read A Man's Search for Meaning.
Oh, maybe I have not read.
Oh, okay. So that's the one.
Okay.
Like this sounds like it's in the same sort of ballpark, but it is a brilliant book. It's probably the most. It's got to be in the top like bestsellers of all time and has been there for like 60 years.
Okay.
It's an incredible book.
I missed that number. Probably buy it as soon as we're done.
Like it is. Yeah. I actually the doctor's name, Viktor Frankl. I think it's a doc. Yeah. So he's talking about he's a Holocaust survivor that was in it, like in the concentration camp, and he was providing therapy and support to Nazis.
Wow.
And his approach to how he's watching death and everything all around him and death knocking at his door, his analysis of what's happening in that moment and never swaying from the small things that he could take that are positive within there are just, I've read it at least 6 times.
Yeah. I'm going to have to read that. But then again, that comes back to this, like why I don't necessarily, for me, want to do a drug on a regular basis because I want to train my brain to be able to do that, which is why I take a negative to a positive, why I look for the abundance at the end of the night, why I look for the gratitude, because I want to remind myself of that. And I think that a lot of drugs, let's first off, there's no such thing as enlightenment because as soon as you get there, there's another rung always of the ladder. But let's just say heaven's spirituality is up here and you're at the bottom of the rung of the ladder. If you do the processes in a way, in my mind, without drugs, you're learning how to climb a ladder, right? And so now that you've learned how to climb up one rung, you fucking got it. You know how to do it. Even if you fall down, you know how to climb up the rung. What I think the drug does, mushrooms, what I experienced when I did it, and I'll tell you more about it. No, it's okay. No, it's all right. It takes you from that bottom rung to the top rung. It doesn't teach you how to get to the top rung. Now, there will be people that will argue they learn a lot and they come back and they don't smoke. And I'm not here to say no to any of those things. People love it and they do great. But that's what I've seen. And then I'm like, yeah, but now what? How do I get back to that fucking place? The answer can't be use mushrooms all the time. Like, I want to be able to do that and feel that without that, right? Like, I don't want to feel good just because I drank 5 grams of mushrooms. And there's going to be people that are going to blow up your thing. He doesn't know what he's talking about with drugs. This is my experience. And guess what? I can fucking have it. And this is part of what's wrong with this goddamn country, is that people don't let people just have their experience and leave them be.
Right.
Everybody's got to be fucking right, and you got to agree with 100% of what they say.
You're either team A or team B. There's no in the middle.
No in the middle. Well, this is my fucking middle, and I like it. You know? So the mushrooms was fucking amazing. The first time I did it, very good friend of mine, she puts I think a 2-hour playlist together. You drink a tea, lay down on the couch. If you can't keep your eyes closed, she'll give you like a blindfold. And she wants you to that's the experience, right? And you go through and you let the what they would call medicine take you, right? And my ego didn't want to let go. He was like, I'll control this shit. So I'm having like the first fucking 45 minutes of this, I'm like having a conversation with myself. I'm like, you didn't drive all the way here to not let it do its thing. Like, just go on the fucking ride, buddy. You know, because I was terrified, because I don't like to lose control either. And it was wild. Once I finally let go, and I don't even know how I let go. I just did. Or the medicine took me, however people want to call it. Every song, when it changed, I felt like I was like laying back looking at the most beautiful colors I've ever seen in my life, to the point where I opened my eyes because I'm like, bitch is playing tricks on me. You know, I'm like, what is she fucking doing? Pitch black room. I'm like, oh my God, I want to go back there. Close my eyes real quick. You know, the music, every song, and then I would just go boom. And I'd drop like deeper into something. I don't know what the something was. I don't know, but I would go deeper. Wow. The colors would get better. The experience would get better. The happiness would get better. The bliss would get better. And then the song would change, and I go, boom, down another level, down another level. And this is just my experience again. And I was like, this is the fucking greatest thing ever. Like, everything was awesome. I fucking loved it. And then like a month later, I went back and did another one. And that
was it the same?
Same. But
same experience?
No, same. The experience was much different. It was wild, and this is going to sound fucking crazy.
That's all right. You're allowed to say that.
Oh yeah, my experience. So, in it was rough. So I wish
second go around
rough. I wish a camera would have been on me, because I felt like I was having an exorcism. Like, I felt like I was ripping. Like, I was like grabbing things like this, and I was like pulling, and it was like arrows were in me. And I was like, and when I would pull them, I would like, all this energy would move, and I'm like, what the fuck's, and I would keep my eyes closed the whole time. I was on like my hands and knees, and I'm like, wow. And when I was doing it, everything was like, things were releasing, and I was like ripping these fucking arrows. That's the best way I can describe it, out of my body. And, I finished that. I ended up laying and I'm like, oh. And then I remember at the end of that, because this was close to when Christy and I, this was probably 2 months the second time, 3 months after.
Your divorce?
Yeah, 3 months after the divorce. Probably the second time. Maybe 4. I don't know. Time's weird, right? So I'm there, and like I remember like in the experience, she was like, I have to go and I'm never coming back. Because at that time I was like, well, maybe she's going to come back. Maybe we're going to figure this out, because I do believe that marriage is for a lifetime and you should really work things out. But it takes 2 people to want to do that. And I did, and she didn't. And that's okay. It's okay. Right. And I'm grateful for it now, because when you're married to the wrong person, you realize that once you heal, you know, and we're very good friends. We have an amazing co-parenting relationship. I can trust her, as ironic as that would sound to a lot of people, like, you know, and so, that happened, and I was like, oh my God, like it broke me. It was like a bad trip, that like last sentence of this awesome experience of me just like pulling arrows out of my body. I don't fucking know. And so finish all that, and then I'm like laying there, and like I guess the shaman or whoever was with me, like I was just laying my head on her lap, and she just held me, and I kept tripping for like 45 minutes.
How long was this whole journey?
I would say anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours.
And then do you bounce back after you were, or does it take a couple of days as like a hangover?
Well, so the first one I bounced back because it was so awesome. It was so fucking beautiful. Right. I'm like, skippity doodah, I want to do that again. Like, sure. I'm like, this is the first time I feel great. I'm like, oh, fucking colors. Like, I mean, it was awesome. I was like, I want to do that again. After the second one, I'm like, I haven't done it since. I'm like, I'm not fucking interested in that again. You know, it was brutal. And, but it kept tripping for like 45 more minutes. And at the end of that trip, so like, you know, Christy says not in real life, which she probably did in real life too, but in the thing, like, you know, I have to go, whatever. And then I kept tripping with my head on the shaman's lap, and she was just like kind of rubbing my hair or whatever. And it was this light, gentle hug of a trip. And the end of that was like, but you're going to be okay. And I was like, what is happening right now? You know, and then I went and sat by the fire with them for like another hour, and I went to bed and didn't want to do mushrooms again after that because I was kind of hungover after that one. Like I kept hanging on to the Christy part and forgetting about the other part, you know? And
physically though, are you able to drive a car the same day kind of thing?
Oh no, we did it at nighttime and I spent the night there.
And the next day you're good to go?
Yeah. I was
Excuse my ignorance, man. I've never done it.
I've only done it twice. I'm no expert.
And I'll tell you, my biggest vice the thing I regret doing the most is, and it's gotten me into the most trouble, is alcohol.
Yeah.
Socially acceptable drug.
Yeah.
And everything in my life that I regret started and ended with a bender.
I don't think you're the only person with that story.
Yeah.
You know, I would venture to say though that doing mushrooms, you're not going to have that story.
Right. Oh my God.
You know, it's almost like my dad, we were talking and he was like, you know, no story, no fight at a bar starts with I smoked too much weed.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You know, he's like, that story ends with like, bro, give me some more chips. You know, and he's like, I don't understand. You know, no story starts that way. And I don't think any story starts with like, I beat the shit out of them because they had too many mushrooms.
Right.
You know, like
you don't get any aggressive drivers that were too stoned, right?
I don't think so. But I mean, I wouldn't have drove with how much I drank, or at least at that point. But again,
but people do, right? I mean,
sure
when you're stoned, you think you're going fast, you're actually going half the
I
speed
see what
limit.
you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like there's no
5 miles an hour.
Alcohol heightens the aggression, right? And it also depends on your headspace, what you're drinking, you know, the shit that's going on in your mind. It heightens and starts that shit.
Yeah.
Are your parents still together?
No, my mom and dad got divorced when my dad left when I was, I think, 3 months old.
Shit.
And then mom remarried, lived in the mountains with them, saw my real
mountains
dad.
where?
Western Pennsylvania. Grew up on 100 acres up there.
When did you move down to Florida?
Moved down to, my goodness, I moved to Florida from Tennessee in 2019, November of Thanksgiving Day, I drove our U-Haul down here of 2019. So I moved right before all the shit happened. So it was like divine timing.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, divine timing.
And I don't know if you bought your house there or if whatever, but I mean, like, things changed real quick.
Things changed real quick. Yeah, it was, we were renting, but I mean, everything, we lived in Memphis.
Even the rentals, like, it was crazy.
Nuts.
We couldn't do anything. Like, I wasn't going to rent just because it didn't make sense for what we needed for a family. Like, it would have been me taking money and burning it.
Yeah, that's basically what it was like. I mean, so it got like that in 2021 here, 2020, 2021, because we were looking for our next apartment, and it was stupid. Like, I remember going to look at a strip, like townhomes that were just built. There's one left. I'm in there while they're doing construction. They don't even have the cabinets in the kitchen yet. And the lady's like, hey, if you want it, you got to put a down payment on it today. I got someone else coming to look at it.
And that was probably true.
What the fuck is going on? She's like, all the other ones are rented. And the guy who was helping us find an apartment, we'd go look at something. I'd be like, all right, I think I like it. By the time I got home, I was like, hey, maybe let's put an offer in for renting the place or whatever. And he'd be like, someone paid the whole year up front already.
Yeah.
Like, by the time I got fucking home, I'm like, who's sitting on $80,000 that they're just like, let me pay for rent?
That's actually against the law in Toronto. You're not allowed to do that. People do it, but you're not allowed to do that. Because if you don't have any credit and you're like a foreign student or something like that, as a landlord, you're not taking that risk.
Yeah, yeah.
How did your family take your divorce?
Well, it's funny. I called my dad to tell him. And he goes,
The dad that left you at 3 months?
No. Well, I still have a relationship with him. He's my biological father, so I would see him every other weekend. But I called to tell my stepdad when we were on the phone. He like takes a deep breath and he goes, they're all fucking crazy. I'm like, now I'm crying and laughing at the same time. He's like, they're all fucking crazy. I'm like, you're not wrong, you know. So
I think a lot of men have a version of that same saying, but that one cuts right to
it, right. You know. And you know, he was going through some stuff too because my mom had gotten divorced, and everything's okay. Everybody's awesome. But my family handled it well. You know, they're still very nice to Christy. If they ever saw her, they don't want anything bad to happen to her. I mean,
how old is Sloan?
Sloan is 6.
How did she take it?
Yeah, that was interesting. Like a champ, the best that she could, but it
Kids
was
are resilient.
They're resilient, but man, they're not resilient. It was so when she left, she didn't have a place, and so Sloan was staying at the house with me almost every night, and dealing with that was fucking hard. Wanted to know where mom is, all the tears, all the crying. Not like that's what broke me the most. You know, that's where I was like, nobody else is seeing this. Nobody else understands this. Like, you don't know what it's like. Like, not you, but just in general, like that was the hardest fucking part. Like the tears and the crying, and then I'm crying and I'm not being a good dad. And I'm like, go to bed. I need 5 minutes to cry by myself. And she just wanted, like, there's things I wish I did better whenever that time was going on. You know, like at one point I remember, and it sucks, but like she had her book and she was reading it at night and she ripped all the pages up in it. And I would like yell at her and was like, we don't fucking do that. You know, like that's not how we behave. And then like a year later, I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had that one back. Like she just was trying to get her shit out.
Sorry to say you're human, Bo.
Yeah, I know.
You can't.
I like to not be, but yeah, I mean, it gut wrenches you. You know, you're like, fuck, man, I didn't handle that one the way I wanted to. And that's a shit that I guess if I had to tell dad something, like there's a lot of them I wish I had back. And I only feel like I'm good at this parenting thing because of how many times I wish I had shit like that back, you know?
You know, the parents that question themselves and feel the worst and the most guilt are actually the ones that are doing the best.
I'd agree with you.
Because nobody who's a shitty parent, who abuses their kids, who doesn't put them first, who doesn't take care of themselves as well, is sitting there questioning whether they should have done X, Y, and Z. They're like, that's how it is. Life's tough.
Yeah.
Suck it up, kiddo, and go, right?
Yeah.
No, man, we all go through it if we care, right? And I'm not judging anybody because your ability to parent is taught. Like your parents' ceiling is now your new floor.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. You know, it's interesting because my mom listens to the podcast, and you know, I've said it on other ones, and I'll say it again too. Is like I don't ever want her to listen and take something and internalize it about her parenting, because it's my job to take what she did and become better at it.
Sure.
And then it's Sloan's job, if she chooses to have children someday, to take what I did and be better at it. That's how we evolve. Right? Like if you play football and you're a rookie, well, I hope you took what you learned that year and became better the next year. Like this is what it's all about. This is why players can play 8-10 years, because when the body starts to slow down, their mind is finally caught up and it knows what to do. You know, like this is what we want. We want to evolve. You're allowed to get better. And there's been days where I'm crying myself to sleep going, all right, I'm going to do it better next time. I'm going to do it better next time. You know, and so there's a lot I wish I had back with that. That was hands down. That was the hardest thing for me, was watching that and just not knowing how to handle her emotions and my emotions. But I'll tell you what, we're like this now. Her and I are like this.
It's so
awesome.
Your dad left you when you were 3 months. That must have been, you wouldn't know, you remember leaving. You probably were, you were obviously told that you left, but that must have been devastating to you.
Yeah.
And then Sloan is much older. Since you guys got divorced. How's she doing now?
She's awesome. I mean, every teacher tells us like how unbelievably emotionally intelligent she is, how smart she is, how connected she is, like how caring and how loving. And, you know, sometimes I think she cares too much for other people, which is a trait of her mom's, you know, that she puts them first. And it's like,
it's amazing how you talk about your ex-wife with still dignity and respect. I don't think I don't have enough of that. If I got divorced, I think I would be a child.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to be a child.
At least for some time, I'd be a child. I'd like to think I grew out of it.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain that besides I just wanted happiness and I wanted things to be better. And this was the way out of the pain. Because I'm like, what am I going to do? Be a miserable fuck all the time? Listen, there's things that happen that I still get angry about now and then, but they're so fucking far and few between. 99.9% of our time is good communication, wholesome. We want what's best for Sloan, and we're going to do that. And I will tell you, 100% of that is because I took it upon myself to heal me, not her. I'm not worried about any guilt, shame, anger, or resentment she has towards me. Don't care. That's hers, not mine. I healed mine.
How do you tell us a 4-year-old at that time that you're getting divorced?
I don't even remember how we did it. I think
Was it together and separate?
Yeah, it was together, and that was hard because I'm like trying to. I didn't want the divorce at all. I wanted to work through it, and so telling her that, I don't think she really knew what was going on, and we just were like, look, mom and dad aren't going to live together anymore. We're going to have different houses. We still love you. This is what it is. I got to be honest. Maybe I blacked it out. I don't really remember how we did it.
All right, that's sincere and honest.
Yeah, and but I know that both of us did the best we could to just love on her as much as we could, and it was like, okay, and I think she just gets it now. Like, this is just how it is. I think she's adapted to it, and I'm sure as she gets older, there will be more conversations because she definitely wants to know and ask questions. But I don't really hide anything from her. Like, I really, really try to not hide things.
So you would be above board with telling her everything that happened?
I would be above board with telling her everything that happened at a certain age.
Sure.
Because I would want her to I would want to be able to have a full backstory with her to where she never resented her mother. And that would make me for her to be able to have to a certain level of maturity to understand dad was also at fault.
There's always,
look, and I think if you just blatantly say it, it's like, well, wait a second, that's not how the whole thing went, and so I would want her to be able to understand it's not right or wrong. This was what was best for the family. Like, your mom didn't do anything wrong. Your mom did what she thought was best for her, and this is how it turned out. And whether it is or not is not on me, right? She made a decision. She went with it. It's awesome. It's beautiful for her.
There's your side, there's her side, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody can always justify whatever their position for whatever reason, as long as you're still responsible as a parent, and now more importantly for yourself. Would you ever get married again?
At first, it was a hell no.
Yeah, I bet.
It was a hell no. And if I had to, there's no definite answers in the world. I'm probably an 85% no. 15%, yeah.
Would you want to have kids?
I don't know about that one either. That's probably an 85-15 too, because things could change. You never know. Right now I'm so focused on building my businesses, building this dad time, growing that, being emotionally present and there for my daughter, like all of those things, that the thought of a wife and another child is like so far away from where I want to be. But let's just fast forward a year or two, and I'm in a place financially where I'm like, I can afford all these things. And she can.
What do you do professionally?
So I'm a chiropractor.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a chiropractor. I do things very, very differently.
Are you in Boca?
I'm in Delray.
All right. I'm in desperate need of help.
Yeah,
so I need you to connect me afterwards. We could talk on so many things that I think, we can see.
Yeah. But yeah, so for me, I don't know. It's a yes, it's a no. It's a let's see what happens. It's not a priority in my life right now. Is the best way to answer that question. And I also don't know if I'm interested in having, me and my sister, she's 7 years younger than me. We just kind of started getting close. 7 years younger, I'm going to college to drink beer, play football, and fuck chicks, and she's 11.
Yeah.
We had nothing in common.
I have the same story. My brother's 8 years older, and when he got married, had kids young, I was being a kid. And I'm like, yo, dude, I don't need you to father me, man. Father your kids.
Yeah.
And now we're super tight.
And now me and my sister, are much more tight now. Much more. Like, we're very close. But I'm like, I don't know, 7 years. Do I even want to have another kid? Or like, do I just want to go on trips to Iceland on the weekend with Sloan someday when I can afford it? I don't know. Like, I mean, these are all the things you think about. Like, what's best for her too?
I've been to Iceland. Don't waste your money.
Okay.
What's dating like now that you're, full on working on yourself? Is it as fun as I actually think it's gonna be?
So I've had this conversation.
I'm sure.
And if you are in a marriage and you're on the rocks with that marriage, I'm not the guy to talk to.
Okay.
Because I think that you should try to make your marriage work. At one point you loved each other. At one point you took vows together. Sure. I think that there's this thing there that should be really cherished and honored. I really do believe that. At the same time, South Florida's fucking awesome. And so, you know, I mean, it's, and that's the brutal, honest to God truth. And I see a lot of people that are married and I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's fucking miserable. And she probably is too.
Sure.
You know, they probably haven't fucked in a month, 2 months, 3 months. They aren't, you know, and it's like, Jesus Christ, fuck that, you know, and, she's not treating him right. He's not treating her right. Now it's become a partnership, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And that's the normal projection of a relationship, which is why I think you should have coaches and people helping you navigate through these things, and time with your wife and all the things I didn't do with mine that led it to where it led it to, I would do differently.
So in hindsight, you can see where things fell apart.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it. It slowly chips away. You have a kid, you don't know what you're doing. You have a business, you move, you know, you prioritize yourself less, you prioritize yourself as a couple less, and the next thing you know, you're fucking roommates. What would you do differently?
Like if you had to pick 1 or 2 things that you think would have the most impact in hindsight, what would it be?
I would have figured, in hindsight, knowing what I know now, I would have hired the life coach that I hired, Heather, who's amazing, as soon as we got fucking married and had Sloan to teach us how to communicate with each other.
Communication.
Yeah. Communicate better. Because I mean, all the other shit was like on. We believed all the same stuff, the same values, the same, but the communication was bad. And that would be the big thing. And I would hire somebody to help me with it because I was young and dumb and immature and didn't know how to communicate. How old were you when you got married? Well, we were together 9 years and then we got married. Well, we were probably only married 1.5 years. But we were together for...
You were pretty much...
Yeah, I mean, we were married. You know, we just didn't fucking sign the paperwork. But yeah, I didn't know
9 years, and it's amazing. The minute you get married, even though you think you know somebody, you can be dating for 9 years, known each other for 9 years, you don't know shit.
It's fascinating. I think that's where really having those conversations and things would be something I would probably have do differently, you know, and I just think that's valuable in life in general. And it's still hard for me now. Like, I don't know. There's some times where I'm just like, I don't want to deal with the conversation. You know, I'm like, I got too many other things going on. And I don't want to deal with the conversation. And then I'm like, wow, that's going to hurt that relationship, you know, like with anybody. You know, it's just like, okay, I get to learn. I get to change. And, I mean, if anybody, I just want them to know, like, I'm not perfect and I still fuck up every day. And I think that's what people don't tell you. Like when you listen to all these podcasts and all these people fucking talk and all these people from stage, it's like they got 45 minutes to tell you their shit. And then you just think that it's good because you listen to the 30-second clip. Like it's not good. Like it's still, I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love my life. It's amazing. But it's still hard. Parenting Sloan is still hard. Figuring out how to navigate schedules is still hard. Trying to put dinner on the table is still hard. I'm still fucking tired.
The other thing I don't think people talk enough about, and you can, when you're married, and I don't know if you have a person that you're seeing right now, and at least you have somebody there. When you're on your own, you're fighting all those things on your own in your head.
Yeah.
You can have a tribe, you can have a network, you can have a life coach, but when you put your head down on your pillow, and if you have an anxiety attack, like I've had more than once in my life, I turn around and I wake up my wife and I say, look, I'm feeling really shitty right now. And she's there. That's huge. The other thing that people don't talk about is the shittiest part of being an adult is that you have to parent yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And parent your kids at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
and
like
when
a
you're
double
solo,
fucking jeopardy.
Yeah. But you're figuring out a lot of stuff on your own by yourself in your head. So it's hard. And all of it's hard, but you can choose which hard you want.
You choose which hard. Listen, I mean, I don't know what the fucking quote is, but it's something like you're either gonna. I don't know what the quote is. Basically, you choose which hard you want.
That's right.
You choose.
They're all hard.
The choice of discipline or the choice of regret or something like that. And it's like, all right,
you wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym and then eat something right and then take care of yourself and do all those things. Of course, you don't want to wake up early and do all these things. Yeah. Of course, you want to just, for me, for kids, every weekend, every evening is like, what are we going to make for dinner today?
Yeah.
Are you guys going to eat anything? How are we going to maintain that schedule?
Yeah.
And then we need time for ourselves. I will argue that your marriage is more important than your relationship with your kids.
You know, that's interesting because I didn't think that until the divorce. And because, you know, I had a friend, he's probably still married. I had a friend who told me when I met, like, we took part 4 boards, 4 whatever part boards together. And he was like, I love my wife more than I love my child. Like, I would, you know, our relationship is more important than the relationship with my child. And Christy and I at the time were like, this kid's out of his goddamn mind. I'm like, I love Slim more than I love you, and that ain't never going to change. Maybe that was the first red flag that we weren't supposed to be together. But it was true for us, right? And
right.
But now that I look back and see it, I'm like, damn, you know, I mean, we never had one-on-one time together. Never had alone time. And you know, but again, and I was crazy. I was a crazy parent. I didn't want anyone else around my daughter. I know too much about the subconscious mind. I didn't want them imprinting upon her. I didn't want their beliefs around her. I didn't want them telling her to wash her hands and put the fucking Purell on it and do all that shit. I wanted her dirty. I wanted her, you know, little mind to stay pure and to know that if she fell, she didn't need to throw a tantrum or cry, that she could mentally handle it. And like all these things, like, you know, that food's not bad. And then all this stuff. And, that strained our relationship because I'd be in bedtime. I was a fucking Nazi with bedtime. I'd be like, we got to leave wherever we're at because it's bedtime.
Oh, that schedule. We were the same. I got to tell you, with 3 kids, if we threw off that schedule, we were in trouble.
See? And that's the other thing. And so, but for me, I was all about that, and I would sacrifice everything else for it. And now, looking back, everybody tells me how awesome Sloan is, and I'm like, well, I'd do it all over again the same way, I guess. I don't know.
With each kid, you become looser because if you stay rigid, you will lose your mind and you will lose your relationship with your kids along with it.
Yeah.
If anybody tells me they're not yelling at their kids, they're definitely not spending enough time with them. Okay. Yeah. I lose my shit at least once a day. And some of the times, you know, I question myself, and other times I'm like, these kids are testing me. They want to find out what their limit and boundaries are. And they just found out.
Yeah. Well, they do, and that's, you know, that's the hard part to navigate as a parent, is those two things. And I think, you know, you brought up another point. You asked if I'd ever have kids again, and part of my answer of why I think right now the answer would be no, of why I don't want to have kids again, is I think I'm ready to be a little bit selfish. I don't know if I would give another child everything I gave Sloan.
Good for you, man.
Don't know if I could pour it into her like that, or him, or whoever. And I'm like, I think it's time to raise her and now become more financially affluent and be able to go somewhere on the weekend. Or do whatever I want.
You talk about, you've mentioned finances several times. It's obviously a big thing in your mind. Probably, you know, something to do with your identity. There's costs of being a single parent that you're no longer sharing. I mean, people don't understand that sort of stuff. And then there's some people that stay together almost strictly because of finances, right?
I would tell you, don't stay together because of the finances. Get your mind right and figure out how to make more money.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing.
I'll tell you, as a Canadian down here on a visa and having come from a country that, especially to Americans, think is very comparable to the United States, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say something just from my experience thus far, is the American dream is alive and well and kicking here in Florida, and
fuck yeah. I got something to say about this after.
My parents are immigrants.
Overtime, we're gonna go. Yeah,
my parents immigrated to Canada, and it gave them a lot of opportunity. I've immigrated from Canada to the United States, and this is a country that, if you're willing to take the risks, if you're willing to work your butt off, if you're willing to have the sleepless nights, if you're willing to take the ups and downs, has the most possibility and potential, and is arguably the greatest country on this planet that anybody, especially as an entrepreneur, can ever be fortunate enough to set foot on.
Yes. Fuck yes.
All right. And if anybody tells you otherwise, I'm telling you from now, living both sides and being successful in one country and coming here with the lessons I've learned there, I haven't reached my potential. But what I see here is that when it comes to entrepreneurship, it is way more acceptable to talk business here. Yeah. It is way more approachable to people to talk business here. And it's like, this is the land of opportunity.
It is. You know, now, so I'm going to bring this up and then we can probably end on this. But the other day I was at a place that will remain nameless, and there were foreign people there. Perfectly fine. My daughter goes to school with a lot of cultures. I love that. I love it. Sure. It's one of my favorite
Canada's
things.
Also great for that. It's a melting pot.
It's a melting pot. I fucking love that. But one of my good friends down here, was a Marine recon. My brother was in the Marines, and I had just a day before gotten off the phone with a man who's going to come on my podcast that has done 14 tours.
Wow.
Okay. So you can only imagine what the three of those people have seen.
Sure.
So that you from Canada can come here
Right.
and live the fucking American dream.
Right.
Right. I don't care what you think about the military or how any of those belief systems, somebody's brother, sister, father went and died so that you could potentially have this freedom, this dream. So we're there. And this lady from another country is bitching about how much she fucking hates it here and bitching about how the American dream's dead and all of these things. And I'm just like, I can't say anything because I didn't, too many people were associated closely with the school that I was just like, I can't say anything. Like, I don't want to make people mad. And I'm like biting my tongue and I'm like, I'm going to explode. Because I know what these people have seen. I know what they've done. Like, don't tell me the dream's fucking dead because I'm building the dream as we're talking about it. And if you don't like it, go. Get the fuck out.
But she's entitled to an opinion.
She is entitled to an
That's
opinion.
her version of the world.
It is. And so that was the conversation I had after, right, with myself, is that she is absolutely allowed to think whatever she's allowed to think.
She can think that fucking opinion because of those people.
That's what I was going to follow it up
The
with.
countries that get shit on the most are the places that allow them to speak freely like that.
Yeah.
She's not going to talk like that if she was in some sort of dictatorship.
Kazakhstan or whatever.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
They would slit her throat and she wouldn't be able to say it. So,
And perspective's a thing, right? And I'm grateful that I have the perspective of the people in my life to know that when I go buy my $7.05 pumpkin spice cold brew latte that tastes like a little bit of heaven, that it's because somebody probably fucking died to be able to get that, to me to have the freedom to have a free fucking enterprise here and have capitalism. Because, all these people want to tweet how much they fucking hate it here and hate capitalism, but they got a Starbucks and an iPhone.
I saw a homeless person the other day with an iPhone in their hands, and I give every time I go by because, especially when my kids are in the car, because I think it's important for them to understand giving. Yeah, you got to make enough to be able to give.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll tell you, you know why Canada is a free country, or used to be-ish a free country?
Okay, yeah, why?
Because it shares a border with the United States. And that's the only fucking reason.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be I would be speaking Mandarin or Cantonese or maybe Russian.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm serious. If it didn't share that border, it's done.
Yeah.
Canada's an amazing place.
Gorgeous.
It has so
from
much
what
to
I
offer.
see on the internet.
It's heading the wrong direction politically. COVID, shed light on that. The next hopeful government that I see coming into place, the more conservative government, will hopefully change these things. There's some incredible people there.
Well, and that's, again, if we want to take the negative to a positive, that's what I'm the greatest, one of the greatest things is people are waking up now and they're like, look, I'm not, you have more people now being like, I'm not a, Republican or a Democrat. I'm fucking gray. I'm right down the middle. Just do the right thing. Leave me alone. Let's do the right thing, people. And it's like, fuck yeah, we got more of that now than I think we ever had before.
Absolutely.
And it's like, let's get more of that goodness, and
that's what's coming down to the States, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Is like-minded entrepreneurs with young families and want to build a community.
And that's, again, the beautiful thing about fucking Florida. I don't care what anybody says. You can hate the political views. You can do all that stuff. But right now, Florida and Texas are the best places to build a fucking business in this country.
Amen to that, brother. Thank you so much for being a Can't Shovel Hurricanes. Yes. Check out the podcast. It's dad time. Do you want to let us know where your location is from a chiropractic perspective?
Yeah, from a chiropractic perspective, everything's kind of getting redone right now, but you can call or text 561-573-4580. It's in Delray Beach, Florida, right near the iPic movie theater. You could try Alchemy, ALCHEMY, CHIRO.com. When you listen to this, it might be active, it might not. We're working on all those fun things. I'm like a ghost. All of my clients have all been referrals, so this is kind of the first time I'm ever putting myself out there to really expand. I just have always believed in do good work, and
good for you, brother, man.
Respond.
I will absolutely circle back. I'm going to check out your place. I need it. And I'll give you guys an honest assessment of how it was.
Please do.
Thanks a lot for being on.
All right. Thank you. This was awesome.